So Stellantis, who owns Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, is being forced to buy back unsold vehicles from a dealership. And guess what? They don't want to do this. So they are actually suing this dealership so they don't have to spend this $180 million to buy back all of this unsold inventory. This is a very big story. And if it goes the wrong way for Stellantis, this can mean big time trouble for them in the future. We'll get into that a little bit, but I want to actually show you this story and I want to dissect it right here. So Stellantis sues a dealership in North Carolina to avoid spending $180 million to buy back fleet vehicles. A North Carolina dealership is terminating its sales and service agreement. Let's get in right into this because this is a big piece of the story. Stellantis has taken a North Carolina dealership to court to avoid having to repurchase several thousand unsold fleet vehicles that cost about $180 million. The automaker alleges Randy Marion, who is the franchise dealer in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, deceptively ordered fleet vehicles and misrepresented the status of some of them, including falsely reporting them as sold. So here's the thing that I want to talk about with this. This is something that Stellantis has actually wanted a lot of their dealers to do. They won't say this out, but what they want to do is they want to be able to channel stuff a lot of these dealerships over the last 2 years. Production was a problem, and then production ramped up, and then they needed a bunch of places to put these trucks. And these dealerships, they were scared from this time because they weren't able to get any of these vehicles. So what were they doing when they're actually getting some of this production into their dealership? Well, if they couldn't sell them immediately so they could get that next allocation, so they could tell Stellantis that, okay, we need more of these vehicles, what were they doing? They were moving a lot of these vehicles in the service loaner fleet. They were putting them in the salespeople's names. They were moving them across dealerships in the same franchise. I'm not saying this is exactly what this dealership was doing, but this is what a lot of dealerships were doing to show sales, maybe when they didn't have them. But guess what? Stellantis actually liked this because that means they could keep pumping vehicles to their dealers, and their inventories, their days supply wasn't necessarily going up because of this, because these vehicles were actually listed as sold when they were moving out of the sales fleet for a lot of these dealerships. This was a good thing for Stellantis. But now, because this lawsuit has come up, they're saying, no, well, because maybe you were showing them as sold and they weren't really sold. This is a big problem, and we shouldn't have to take these vehicles back because you were being deceptive as far as how many of these vehicles you actually had. So let's go back into this because it gets a little bit deeper here. So. The dealer principal, Randy Marion, notified Stellantis on a June 13th letter that he was going to be terminating the store's sales and service agreement. That means that they were basically getting out of this franchise. The letter demanded that Stellantis repurchase the store's inventory of new vehicles by September 13th, the 90-day deadline set by state law. The suit included a 50-page inventory list of fleet and retail units. So this is all of their actual units they had available that they needed Stellantis to buy back. So in North Carolina, there is a law that states if the dealership gets out of the franchise model, terminates the franchise model, whatever, there's a time period that backdates that says that if there are any unsold vehicles, then the automaker has to buy them back. And this is what's happening right here. Randy Marion, they want to get out of the Stellantis business. They want to get out of this franchise, and they have trucks that are sitting around. They have fleet vehicles that are sitting around. And from what they're reading from the law, it says, okay, well, we get out. That means you got to take them back. And that's $180 million worth of these fleet vehicles. So here we go. So the letter gave no reason for termination. Obviously, we know the reason for terminating. They can't sell them, right? And Jeep, Dodge, Ram dealers across the nation would love to be able to just say, you know what? Stellantis, please just take these vehicles back. Just cut us a check for what we paid you for them, and let's just call it good, right? So they're saying here that the dealership will cooperate with Stellantis, and they fully expect a full repurchase of the obligations. The obligations being all these fleet vehicles. So the Stellantis suit does not challenge the termination itself. They're fine with the dealership actually terminating its franchise. But here is what Stellantis is saying. Here's their argument. And they filed the suit on June 28th. They're saying over the last 3 years alone, Marion has ordered thousands of fleet units, ordering many on behalf of specific customers. Marion has recently revealed to Stellantis that the fleet units it is reported as sold to specific customers were untrue, and that Marion has amassed a remarkably atypical large stock of, listen to this, 3,841 fleet units. So here's what could have had. There's a few different scenarios that could have happened to play out in this scenario. Well, you could have had the scenario where they just kept ordering, and they really falsified that, okay, these were allocated to actual customers. Basically, they already had them sold, and they were getting these orders from Stellantis because they had customers for them. Yeah, that could have been in that case. Then the dealership was doing something wrong. They were lying about who they were selling them to. Obviously, again, I'm not saying this is what happened. Just lining out some situations that could make this actually possible. But the other situation, which is a situation that I've actually personally seen, is that okay, maybe they did have customers lined up for these vehicles. They ordered them. The customer ordered a ton of trucks, ordered 1,000 fleet vehicles, however many, but a massive order. And so Randy Marion, they will order these trucks because they knew that their customer was good for it. And then the customer, the company that wanted these vehicles, backs out. So the reason I'm bringing up this scenario is because I've seen it at another dealership. I've talked to some salespeople at it was another Jeep Dodge Ram dealership that's actually near me. I go and film there a lot, and they had a ton of fleet Ram, like the in Ford they call them Transit. I don't know what they call them for Ram, but they're like the delivery vans, whatever, but they had a whole lot full of them. And I asked the salesperson, I said, what's going on here? You have a ton of these vans just sitting around, and they look like they're fleet ready, they're ready to go. And what he told me is that yeah, we had all of these vans sold. It was a special order. Company wanted them, ordered them, and then right as soon as the dealership got them, they backed out. So this dealership had 60 of these vans sitting around this lot that they are now going to sell to the public or try to sell them to another company because the customer that they ordered them for backed out of the deal. So now that dealership is stuck with them. And this could be the case with a lot of these fleet vehicles that this dealership that does not want to be a Stellantis dealership anymore is trying to get out of and wants Stellantis to take back. And Stellantis is like, no, 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 no. You ordered these because you said that they were sold. You marked them that they were sold. You're now getting them in and they need to be sold. That's what you told us. So this is the back and forth that this lawsuit is really going to bring. Is that okay? Stellantis, they gave them to you because you had customers and you marked them as sold. We are not going to be taking back vehicles that are sold, and you told us that these vehicles were sold, so that's why we're not taking them back. Okay, so here's right here what the law actually states. So Stellantis is seeking an expedited ruling that North Carolina law doesn't require it to repurchase the fleet vehicles. The law requires automakers to repurchase each new and unsold motor vehicle within the dealer's inventory that has been acquired within 24 months of a franchise termination, non-renewal, or cancellation if the vehicle has not been substantially altered or damaged and has been driven less than 1,000 miles. So I want to talk about this for a minute too, because there's another interesting little nugget that I'm just really remembering. So in the last 2 months, there was a Jeep Dodge Ram dealership that's not too far from here that I went to, and they still had a lot of 2022 new Ram 1500s, and these were all white. They look like fleet vehicles, and they were trying to basically give these things away. They had them all marked down about $18,000. And the salesperson that was there was telling me, okay, we're still having a hard time trying to move these things. So I'm almost wondering if there are a lot of these CDJR dealerships that are in the same boat as Randy Marion is with, okay, we have all these fleet vehicles that we acquired and now we can't move them, whether it's because they just order too many, they sent some to their service loaner fleet. They marked them as sold when maybe they shouldn't have. But either way, there's a lot of these dealerships I would assume that are dealing with that, because now I have three just in my small area here in North Carolina that are dealing with the same kind of issue where they have too many fleet vehicles. Either they couldn't sell them, or the customers actually backed out of these deals. And that's three for three of the ones that I've checked around this area. So this is going to be a problem. And I talked earlier in this video how this could be a potential big time problem for Stellantis, because if they're not able to win this lawsuit against this dealership, then other dealerships can follow suit and do this exact same thing, because I can guarantee you there are a ton of these Ram trucks, of these fleet vans that are sitting around at a lot of these dealerships, and these dealerships would love nothing more than to just get them out of their inventory. So much so that they might choose the route of, okay, well, if we just terminate our contract with Stellantis, and you know what? It's kind of tough to be a Jeep Dodge Ram dealer anyway. Maybe we want to be out of the space anyway, and they can just cut us a check and they have to take all of these vehicles back. There's going to be more dealers that are going to choose this route. And this will be big bad news, because just in this one dealership, that's $180 million worth of these fleet vehicles that are unsold. That's just one dealership. There are Jeep, Dodge, Ram dealerships everywhere. I'm just in North Carolina. They are everywhere in North Carolina. These trucks are sitting everywhere. I know you've seen videos on our main channel of me showing these trucks at dealerships. They are everywhere. I can't say that enough. There are going to be other dealerships that take this route, and you multiply that 180 million by a lot of these dealerships that are doing the same thing. That's a ton of money that Stellantis will have to buy back of these unsold vehicles, and that's big bad news for Stellantis going forward, because I think there's a lot of these dealerships that are in the exact same boat as what we're seeing right here. So here's one thing that might actually help Stellantis in this, is that their suit said that typically Stellantis does not repurchase fleet units upon a dealer's termination, because dealers do not typically possess a large number of stock fleet units, as does Marion here, since dealers typically do not place a fleet order unless it has a customer committed to purchase that unit. This is something that could really help Jeep Dodge Ram in this problem that they may have, and going across the other dealerships as well, that if this is something that's not typical, and Randy Marion might be in the wrong here for ordering vehicles that weren't actually sold before they got them, then this could possibly be the saving grace. We'll have to look into the actual law and see if it covers fleet vehicles versus retail vehicles. But this is something that Stellantis is really going to place a flag in for this lawsuit, and really lean into it. There's a couple things: fleet vehicles being the biggest, and two, they are going to have to actually prove that Randy Marion was saying that these cars, these fleet vehicles, were actually sold when maybe they weren't. And from this article right here, it might be even more leaning towards, okay, maybe Randy and Marion was in the wrong here, because it says another 2,273 vehicles were ordered using customer-specific fleet account numbers. If that's true, that means that Randy Marion was ordering these vehicles with a specific customer in mind, saying that these were sold to a customer before they were actually getting to the dealership. And it was identified two large corporate customers that had been unaware that Randy Marion used their fleet account number to order fleet vehicles and retain them rather than delivering to the customers. Now, in if this is true, what the Automotive News is reporting here, then there's only two situations that can occur. Is that Randy Marion ordered them? They ordered them with a corporate number, and falsely used that corporate number to order these vehicles, or the corporation that actually ordered the vehicles is lying, saying, okay, we never ordered those, even though maybe they did, and then they backed out of it. So there's only two scenarios if Automotive News is being truthful as far as what they're reporting, and it's probably actually said in the suit. So it's not necessarily an opinion up to Automotive News. This is probably what was actually said in the suit. So there's only two things to be true if that statement that I just read is true, and that's in either case, it's probably good news for Stellantis with the suit going forward. And here's another thing, it just keeps getting deeper. Say, in addition, the suit alleges that Randy Marion is wrongfully demanding Stellantis repurchase hundreds of the vehicles it bought from other dealerships rather than just directly from the automaker. So this could be a big problem for Randy Marion, because the vehicles, if they did buy a lot from other dealerships, then Stellantis is not going to have to purchase back those vehicles that they bought on the wholesale market from other dealers. In my opinion, that Stellantis is probably not going to be on the hook for those. Here you go. And Stellantis is also saying that vehicles on the inventory list, primarily large pickups, were in high demand in 21 and 22. And instead of selling the fleet units to assigned customers, Randy Marion schemed to stockpile them during the period of high demand and sell them at high prices. All right, they even say that some of these fleet vehicles had been modified, uplifted, which means they were lifted with lift kits. They have big wheels, things like that, rims, and customized, and therefore should not be offloaded on the automaker, Stellantis argues. It said because the dealership bought them as fleet vehicles, especially for specific customers, its recourse should be with the end users to the extent that they existed. Who declined delivery, not Stellantis. So Stellantis is saying that the problem should lie with the customer that ordered these and then backed out of it, and not from Stellantis, the automaker. So this is where Stellantis feels like the blame should be, not on them, but the end customer. So this is a story that I want to watch for a while, because it's going to be big news if Stellantis actually loses the suit, just because I think there's going to be problems down the road for them, because there's probably going to be a lot of dealerships that are going to be looking for an out. But I also want to pull up, let's do this, see if I can figure out technology here. Here we go. I want to thank Rob from Uticus research here for sharing this story with me and saying that I should do a video on it. If you see an article and you want me to pull it up and be able to just give a little commentary on it or do a video on it, send it to me. I'll put a link to my email. I'll put my email address down in the description below. If you want me to cover something, talk about something, shoot me an email and I'll try to cover it. But go follow him. He actually sends me a lot of research topics, things like that. This is what he does for a living. So I'm grateful to him for actually sharing a lot of that, and helps me get some content and be able to make some videos for you guys and show you what's going on in the car market. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Like this video, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this lawsuit and what's actually going to happen, and who you think's in the wrong here. So I'm very curious to see this play out, and I really hope you guys have a great rest of your day.